Good evening, everyone. You welcome to the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. In our top stories, we take you to Nkwanso, a locality in Bui division of the Recife Northwest region of the country, where several houses have been set ablaze. Many locals are now stranded. Some of them have escaped into bushes. They are pointing accusing fingers at uniformed men for committing the acts. We'll show you images in this edition of the newscast. Plus, a 2-year-old child called Brandon is in a critical condition at the Mbopi Baptist Hospital after he was mercilessly tortured by the uncle and wife while on vacation. The uncle has so far been arrested by security elements while the wife is on the run. We shall be telling you more of this in this edition of the newscast. Good evening once again. You welcome to the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. First, we begin here in the nation's economic capital, Douala, to talk about a 2-year-old boy called Brandon, who is in a critical state at the Mbopi Baptist Hospital, where he was taken to after he was mercilessly tortured by the uncle and aunt while on vacation. The uncle has been arrested by security elements while the wife is on the run. Charles Ekume has been following that incident that took place here in Douala today. He compiled this report.
L'infirmière qui est à côté a soulevé la bille sur l'enfant. C'est là où on a vu les cases de fou partout sur l'enfant. Je lui demande qui a foutu l'enfant comme ça. Il me dit qu'il ne connaît pas.
Tears and sobbing of disappointment from Tanko Mervige, the grandmother of 2-year-old Brandon Ngani, who was brutally beaten and maltreated alongside his 4.5-year-old sister while on vacation at their uncle's house in Douala. According to their uncle by name Nya Rodrigue, who is accused of committing the act, says the children were not eating when asked to and they kept on urinating on the bed. Moreover, the mother of the children by name Fanga Esther Diane, who resides in Yaoundé, says she was shocked when she came to Douala and only met her son in excruciating pain at the Mbopi Baptist Hospital. I came and saw my child in deplorable conditions with bruises and traces of whips on his body. All his buttocks was damaged like he was burnt. A child of 2 years old with all his flesh torn out. When first aid was administered on the boy, you could feel his anguish and pain, for he kept on saying, "Uncle and auntie, please don't hurt me." You could actually feel that this is what he had been going through. The hospital staff immediately burst into tears. Furthermore, some sources at the hospital vicinity say Nya Rodrigue was arrested and detained at the Mbopi Gendarmerie Brigade, but before his arrest, he kept on accusing his wife of committing this barbaric act. They sent someone to go and call for the gendarmerie officials, who got to the scene and arrested the young man. He kept on denying that he wasn't the one who committed the act, but his wife did. When he was asked where his wife was, he said she ran away. I also saw the mother of the child and asked how the child was faring, and she said there was no significant improvement. It is not clear who committed the act between Nya Rodrigue and his wife, but at the moment of this report, his wife is on the run and he in detention. Meantime, his nephew, 2-year-old Brandon Ngani, is still in critical condition at the hospital, awaiting surgery to be conducted on his damaged body.
Charles Ekome with that report, and we now talk about several locals in Nkwanso. That's a locality in the Recife Northwest region of the country, where several houses have been burned allegedly by the military. According to the population, the military or many uniform were hunting separatist fighters. They invaded the village in Jakiri on Friday, June 25th, 2021, pushing civilians to sleep in their bushes for 4 days. Nkwanso is purely an agrarian border village between So and Babesi. This migrant village has attracted so many fleeing rural dwellers from the neighboring communities who came for sanctuary due to its relative peace. However, the influx of separatist fighters attracted the military. No casualty has been reported yet due to the remoteness of the area and communication difficulties. Hundreds have so far fled the village regarding that incident. Several houses burned. Most of them are now counting losses. As you can watch in the images, the houses have been abandoned in the shadow of themselves, and the occupants, some of them remain stranded. Some of them have escaped into bushes for safety. We talk something else. The audit bench of the Supreme Court has noted irregularities in the management of state funds by 3 ministries in the country. In its audit report, the organ says over billing contradiction and liquid cash transactions have been identified with the said ministries. For me, Armstrong Sanders read through the report of the audit bench of the Supreme Court and compiled this report.
The report focused on activities carried out by 3 specific ministerial departments in Cameroon, notably the Ministry of Public Health, the Ministry of Finance, and that of Scientific Research and Innovation in 2020. The audit bench of the Supreme Court in Cameroon noted in this regard that the activities of other ministerial departments throughout 2020 were less significant comparatively. The bench noted that some 22 activities carried out by the 3 ministerial departments cost the state of Cameroon some 157 billion francs CFA, largely above the projected amount and far more than the 99 billion francs CFA previewed as the National Emergency Fund to fight against COVID-19 and its socio-economic effects. The wide difference between the budget fixed, the activities carried out, and the final amount used pushed members of the audit bench of the Supreme Court to ask questions. They questioned the transparency in the management of public funds, its performance, accountability, efficiency, and effectiveness. While examining the documents presented by public accountants, the audit bench of the Supreme Court noted with dismay and condemned what it noted as huge errors and other problems. Comparing the accountant's report to the initial contractual document, auditors of the audit bench identified irregularities like overbilling and carryovers, the non-execution of certain projects, and liquid cash transactions. Briefly, the accounting documents from different ministerial departments in Cameroon are contradictory, according to the audit bench of the Supreme Court. Finally, the bench noted that some 186 billion francs CFA was collected within the National Solidarity Fund against COVID-19, but only 167.7 billion francs CFA was finally spent, even without a convincing justification.
We now take you to the East region, notably in the Kambele locality, where the population say there is high risk of a landslide to occur as a result of continuous mining activities. The area has been abandoned by extractors, and according to them, this has put the locality and the population at risk of a possible landslide. Immaculate Fogo reports.
The continuous extraction of valuable materials or other geological materials from this site in Kimberley 3 East region has transformed it into a death trap. 1 year ago, the area used to be covered with thick vegetation where the population used to carry out hunting and fishing activities. But now, the entire area has been almost transformed into an artificial lake due to the activity. A landslide that occurred 3 weeks ago killed some artisanal miners who were on the site. I was shocked after being informed that my son got buried in the soil due to the landslide. I never believed that my 20-year-old son would die before me. It is really painful. 3 weeks after the tragic incident occurred, the population have once again begun carrying out work on the site as if nothing occurred. The area where the landslide occurred has, however, been fenced in order to prevent entry. It is not the first time that a landslide has killed miners, but the activity continues to flourish despite the risk. The Delegate of Environment and Nature Protection is equally worried about the situation. We are concerned about the high rate of wanton air pollution and land degradation provoked by the mining activity. I and my team frequently go to the site to sensitize the population on the risk involved. The population of Kimberley 1, 2 and 3 decry the fact that companies extracting minerals in the area do not give them their 10% quota of revenue gotten from the sales of the minerals, reason why the area is underdeveloped. There is a high possibility that another landslide may occur if the government does not act fast.
And regarding that incident, we move to the West region, where notably in Bafoussam, being one of the towns to host a poll of the AFCON 2022, and the taxes are still in their deplorable states. We shall be coming back to that just in a short while. Meantime, the Southwest Regional Delegates of Tourism has encourage stakeholders in the tourism sector to come up with strategies to rescue the sector that has been hit by war in the Anglophone regions. Efeti Monono was speaking recently in Boya during a coordination seminar. Derijato was part of that seminar. He came back with this report.
Tourism and war are two worlds apart, and where one is present, another is seemingly absent. And in the southwest region of Cameroon, war has been present for the past 4 years.
So many things have gone down the drain. They have been so discouraged because of the crisis, and recently because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Business has been very slow, because of that. The sector has not really been that vibrant.
And today in Boya, the southwest regional capital, these promoters in the tourism sector are meeting in a regional coordination meeting to exchange notes on what next.
We took upon ourselves to initiate the holding of this regional tourism coordination forum for us to brainstorm on ideas and bring out strategies on how to forge ahead.
To these promoters in the tourism sector, the past 4 years has been all about surviving.
The crisis, in as much as we have not been to ground zero, we have that is being to the lowest level, we have been able to, we are not functioning to our capacity. So, but we are still being able to keep our heads above water, but not as we used to do before the crisis.
Changing strategies and copying best practices should be embraced by all in these challenging times.
This is the time for people, the tourism stakeholders, to think out of the box and to do uncommon things to be able to attract attention. We should never forget that the origin of every black man from every part of this world is traced to Africa. So we have to make it Africa in a way that they are interested to come, and not just to come, but to come and learn.
Southwest, which has a true picture of a tourist home with its unique flora and fauna, wonderful cultures and cuisines, must not be allowed to be eroded. These stakeholders call on everyone in the Southwest region to participate in restoring the tourism sector.
We now take you to the west region of the country, just like I indicated a few minutes ago, notably in Bafoussam, being one of the towns to host a poll of the African Nations Cup 2022. Township taxis in their old and breakdown state can still be seen parading the streets. That's a few months to the arrival of the AFCON visitors. Some eager to see the beautiful Cameroon, highly talked about nationally and internationally. To avoid embarrassment, the divisional delegate for transport in the MIFI is preoccupied with eradicating what terms scrap and obsolete vehicles early enough from the streets of Bafoussam. According to Didier Wafor, the Mifi Divisional Delegate of Transport, the old-looking vehicles must retire from the roads and every taxi driver must be in possession of a driver's license. Commercial motorbike riders are not exempted. They are expected to give their bikes a pleasant look or bow out of the streets. Those who abide to the order must be in possession of driving license as well as identification or being identified. Some of the motorbike riders applaud the sensitization made by the Mifi Divisional Delegate of Transport, pledging to concur and advise their colleagues absent during the sensitization talks to do same. And now in Yaoundé, notably in the Yaoundé 7th subdivision, the mayor has instructed all those whose houses are built along the major road axis to paint all walls of their buildings with yellow or white paint. Look at Tangada Messi in a communique signed on June 29, 2021, added that all must engage in systematic cleanup of their surroundings, reiterating that it is forbidden to dry clothes in balconies, be at apartments or family houses. And now we talk about this other incident as part of the state's active debt management strategy and the specific aims of improving Cameroon's public debt profile to ensure investors' interest for the implementation of Cameroon's development strategy. The head of state, Paul Biya, according to Finance Minister Luis Paul Motaze, authorized the issuance of a new international bond of 450 billion francs CFA, whose use of proceeds will be used mainly to refinance the 2015 Euro bond. To ensure the proper implementation of this transaction, President Paul Biya sent a delegation led by the Finance Minister to Paris, who has this to tell. Take a listen to the Finance Minister, Luis Paul Motaze.
Le Cameroun vient de recourir.
We'll be getting an excerpt of the Minister of Finance, Luis Paul Motaze, sent by the President of the Republic of Cameroon to Paris.
The transaction was announced on the markets on June the 22nd, 2021. A roadshow followed from June 23 to June 29, during which meetings and negotiations between the Cameroonian delegation and 100 financial analysts representing more than 70 investors with strong investment capacities took place. These meetings allowed the delegation to present the political and social situation of Cameroon, as well as its achievements and medium to long-term economic prospects, in order to improve investors' perception of Cameroon credit. The transaction was priced on June the 30th, 2021. I am hence pleased to make public the results of this transaction, which are as follows. Currency of the new issue, euros. Amount requested, 450 billion CFA francs, equivalent to 685 million euros. Number of participating investors, 205. Order book size in CFA francs, 1,481,15, equivalent to, in euro, 2,258, corresponding to a cover ratio of 321%. Coupon 5.95%. Maturity 11 years.
Regarding the liability management exercise, the Finance Board says the main information to be remembered is that the state has reached a record by back rate standing at about 80% of the outstanding amount of the 2015 Eurobond. Take a listen to Minister Luis Paul Motaze once again.
After its inaugural Eurobond issue in 2015, which has a coupon of 9.50%, Cameroon successfully returned on international capital markets during this first semester of the year 2021, more specifically the Eurobonds market. Despite a difficult context marked by the coronavirus pandemic, investors expressed their renewed confidence in the quality of Cameroon's signature, supported by the successful execution of a first IMF program, prospect of a new program with a fund, and the implementation of our 2020-2030 development strategy. Our economic and financial challenges certainly remain numerous, but the confidence in Cameroon that investors just demonstrated represents an important encouragement for the continued implementation of reforms carried out by Cameroon under the leadership of the President of the Republic in view of Cameroon's economic and social emergence by 2035. I thank investors for the interest in Cameroon's credit, as well as all those who contributed to the success of this transaction.
And on to education, the Minister of Secondary Education, Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, has effectuated an inspection visit in some GCE ordinary level, advanced level, and technical general accommodation centers in the central region. She was at the Lycée Bilingue d'Application in Guaekele, English High School in Obili, Government Bilingual High School at Tourebe, and at the Government Bilingual Technical, Commercial and Industrial School in Guaekele. During her tour, the Secondary Education Minister noted with satisfaction the unfolding or the continuous respect of anti-COVID-19 barrier measures that were stipulated by the government of the Republic. She also hails the efforts being made to ensure that students' rights in all tranquility or serenity. According to Minister Nalova-Lyonga, there has been an increase in the number of candidates sitting in for the GCE examinations this year when compared to the previous. Take a listen to her in this excerpt.
Tradition reassured. That is to say that the English-speaking area has a tradition as far as examinations are concerned. And this is a tradition that we are seeing displayed, all starting at the same time and finishing at the same time. They all have the water and the washing of hands, all had masks. Some of them forgot the masks by their seats, but I think they are all doing their best to observe those measures.
That's it for the first part of this newscast. Up next, Talking Points. Good evening once again. You're welcome to Talking Points. We're having as guest Tayong Elvis. He is the National Deputy Communication Secretary for the Cameroon Renaissance Movement Opposition Political Party. Good evening.
Good evening. I say Innocent. Good evening to thousands of persons who are listening to us. Good evening to militants of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. We always greet everybody because we work for the interest of everybody. Though, if you go to Kumba now, we don't understand why a city council would not want a travel agency to operate where they were instructed to construct. So they keep on sending them left and right to the park and all the like. At the end of it, you start asking yourself, where are we heading to? Everything seems not to be working well.
Exactly. Just that there are so many other issues, eating Cameroonians up. Just to talk about the issue regarding the travel agency. the city authorities will tell you that it is in a bid to curb urban disorder regarding the difficulties that the population they face, the investors as well face. Don't you think that it is a right moment to at least coordinate these people, rather tell them, or if you want to send them away, you should at least preserve a place for them to continue their activity than completely giving them that sanction suspension?
Well, if you look at the situation in Kumba, I think what you are saying is what it's supposed to be. We realize that even when Mondial Travel Agency when they were about constructing where they have their current building, they obtained permission from the city council during the period of the former government delegate Ngoikele Victor. So, and it was expected, building permit was given, so they constructed as instructed by the authorities at the city council with toilet facilities, enough air, and enough where you could waiting room where you could wait for a vehicle to get food before you take off. Now, when all these things were done, it is true people have to go to the park, but now the park they are talking, the council officials have not even constructed sheds in the park. So look at where the worry is. So at the end of it, they had left. The Mondial itself went to the park and then realized that there's a lot of disorder in the park, people dragging bags left to right in Kumba. And because of that, they were not feeling it comfortable, because any agency has as a right to preserve the rights of the people. So at the end of it, they decided that no, instead of all this cacophony taking place in the park, they are under the sun, no shed, no comfortable place where passengers can sit and wait for the vehicle to get full. They had to go back to where they had invested money. I mean, enormous money with good structures, good buildings, and toilets. If you come to Kumba Park, there's no toilet. I mean, Kumba, as I speak, I tell you from somebody from Kumba, there are no toilets there. So if you force people into it at the period of COVID-19, are you telling us that they will be jam-packed there? Will it not be dangerous for them to contract COVID-19 than allowing even the Mondial Express to go back to their own site so that it helps to decongest the park? Then the day you construct the park even. But where is the problem? The problem is even that they were constructing under the information and authority of the council with building permits. So look at where the controversy comes in. Now another city mayor comes in and then start complicating when the previous one was complicating, start complicating this travel agency. Where do you want them to go? They have invested a lot of money. Is the city council going to give them the money back and then construct them the similar building they have at their current park back in the main park? The city council will not be willing to do that. They want to construct some kind of things that are not, but let them for the word construct while allowing them to where they are. We can now start blowing grammar from there. But as of now, they have made several times moves to the council officials and all the like. So at the end of it, up to the people in Kumba are not even understanding what is happening as far as that tussle between the city council. It is not normal. I tell you, it's not normal.
At the end of the day, many will always say that they fight for their interests rather than the interests of the people. Noting that you go to the Kumba Park, you have no good toilets, no comfortable seats, whereas you are compelling people to use that particular public place.
That is where the controversy comes in.
That should be the only agency. So what should the ruling authorities now do concretely, say, in order to meet up with maybe the expectations of other users?
You know, with the transport sector is complex. What the city council would have done, since as they
if they're incompetent, should they just resign?
Because no, what we're saying, we are talking in a kangaroo system here, where things work in a lackadaisical manner. If you look at it carefully, why would they refuse a travel agency to go to their site, which they had already obtained some documents from the council to construct? Now, who will pay them the investment they invested there if you want them to go to the park? Constructed buildings befitting for these agencies, there are many of them that are there in the park? No. So a man constructs where it's not far from the park. Okay, look at other parks in Bamenda and other like. They are not the same place. So people try to confine them. If you cannot give something befitting, and the travel agency tells you, I have my plot, and I can do something fitting to suit the customers and the area, keeping it clean, you have to allow. So if the city council officials, you know, Kumba city council has been in a type, you know, from the time of the elections and all the like, but we think that if people cannot do the right thing, it is a whole chain from here right up to here. And in the kangaroo system, things operate in an anyhow manner. First of all, under insecurity, we have many problems to grind. And then when the city council, instead of allowing those who have permanent structures to pick up to them, to pick up to the structures as their agencies, which is located around the same park, outskirts of the town. Because if it was in the town, you would say it might cause congestion. Now it's at the outskirts of town, just few meters, I say few meters to the main park, We don't see where the trouble is coming from. So at the end of it, if they are not willing to work and they cannot work, they should go and leave.
I mean, you have been terming it as witchcraft.
Yeah, I see it as political witch hunting.
Or what do always say in pidgin, black belly.
Yeah, because if you ask the city council, what is your worry with Monja Express? How would they explain to you? They will not be able to give you a dime of, you allow me, I pick building permit, I construct. Another government comes up, whereas administration is continuous. Instead of the new city mayor probably to follow up, it becomes another complex issue where they tell you, all of you must go to the park. And at the same time, you have constructed befitting structure.
But there, talking about where they constructed the befitting structure, just tell me, maybe you were in the southwest region, you were, of
I
course,
am coming from Kumba, and I live
in Kumba. Is there any form
of
disorder where they constructed their befitting structure?
It will not be disorder because first it was approved. It will not be disorder because first it was approved, and it is holding some meters away from the petrol station, just meters away from the main park, and you will discover that in as much as they constructed, it means that they were to be doing their loading in their own agency and not even on the road. Now, if you come to the main park, the urban disorder is instead there because the various travel agencies that are there are not coordinated. If you go to Kumba now, you see as you are entering the park with the bike, you see the way they are running helter-skelter behind your motorbike. People's bikes have been destroyed. People have fallen on bikes because this agency is fighting to get this one. So even the order in need is not there. But now, what is the issue? Had it been we had constructed buildings or meant for this agency, it's clear you can come with your bag and say, I am going to agency A or agency B. We don't have it. They stand around them in the park, no coordination. Then somebody tells you, no, I've been standing here for long under the sun. I have my own building. How do you build a house and then you stay out of the house and rain is falling on you with sun when you have a befitting house just next door? It becomes ironical. So something definitely is not wrong, but the city council should tell us what is the problem with that travel agency. That's what many users expect from the city council. Then let's dive on to into something else. You will certainly learn about the new burning in the locality known as Kwanso, that's in the northwest region. Around Jakiri subdivision? In Jakiri subdivision. And many locals, victims, are now in Buju Somala have escaped because they said they are uniformed men who came hunting for separatist fighters and they decided to commit the act. Is that factual to you? Do you believe what they said, or they just want to mix things up? Well, the first thing is that when you look at the ongoing crisis and the war for now, there are some characteristics you can deduce from the non-state armed actors and characteristics you can deduce from the security forces. Now, we understand what happens in Kwakwa. We understand the houses have been burnt several times in Batibo, in Jakiri itself, even in Gokutunja. So if the burning of the house at this time, though I don't have the fact, is attributed to the security forces, then it will be an error on their part. Because I told Yaoundé regime over and over that the moment you don't change strategy in running after Amber fighters, you'll be failing because you'll be radicalizing them more and adding more people into it. Now, do you know, Mr. Innocent, that the numbers of Amber fighters keep increasing for the simple reason that the security forces keep performing or keep carrying out one error or the other. Now, we have persons who could be in Douala, they can be in Yaoundé. If they hear their house has been burned, probably their own brother has been killed and things like that, you see them going for revenge. I have told Yaoundé several times, a handful of those who are taking up arms, part of their grievances is to revenge the death of a lost one whom they attributed to the security forces. That is one reason I said that Yaoundé has counterfeit resolutions or solutions they put on the ground, which means that while you want to allow people to lay down their arms, how do you explain to me that in that village, those whose houses have been burnt and the young guys who are sleeping there in the bushes, do you know that out of anger under the squat, I know coal, you know coal in Jakiri, with the coal at the reason, do you know that they can get angry wherever they are and move into the bushes and swell up the number of the Amber fighters? How do you take one step and you dance two steps behind? That's what Yaoundé regime is doing. And we have been saying at the level of the Cameroon National Movement Party that we should be able to see that the war comes to an end. You cannot be agitating for the war to come to an end, and at the same time you are carrying out steps that radicalizes and increase the number of the fighters day in, day out. I think the military is chewing more than they can swallow. And many have been, before we go out, many have been talking and saying the France has been intervening in several actions of the government. This time around, what do you really think France can do in the resolution of this crisis in the two English-speaking regions, stopping the hostilities, the killings, the burning, the destruction? Well, is it possible? It's very possible because France tells Yaoundé what to do. We all know that. If France wants this war to come to an end, they should stop giving military aid. America has stopped. If America stopped giving military aid, France is supposed to pick up, instead of giving armored cars that are used instead to propagate, to keep the war moving, you stop the flow of those things and then call Yaoundé regime to order. I don't see how dialogue is difficult. Look at Ethiopia. That is the government of Ethiopia calling for a ceasefire between themselves and the rebels in the Tigray region. What stops the government, Yaoundé regime, to say that, all right, everything is over, let's get a stop, let's begin to see how we can get to dialogue? I am not talking of the CPDM conference called the Grand National Dialogue. No, I'm talking about a real genuine dialogue whereby you would dialogue with the people. The end result of all of these killings and the burnings and all the like is that at the end, we will all go to table. Is that not being foolish? That a thing that you would have saved ere long. Look at the amount of money we are wasting. And the Minister of Water and Energy came to the National Assembly and he's asking for additional budget to continue electrification. This budget has been wasted to keep security fighting in the north and the southwest, which would have been safeguarded and plowed back into the economy for development. It means that the regime is already tired. Therefore, the only thing they are waiting for now is to go on leave.
The regime should go on leave. That's what you see. And the regime is not ready for that, I think. Let's just fold arms and wait. Well, thanks so much for being part of Talking Points today.
Thanks very much. While the case in Jan Division, the Kodotiti, is still hanging, I have given the task to the new National Communication Council chair, that's George Keblunkan Kalobose. He needs to bring those papers that said non-Jan indigenes hijacked those divisional delegates. It means they know. So they should get those guys, let them help the security forces. Let's know those who arrested these delegates and those guys who are propagating this kind of thing. Because when somebody is in custody, you could jeopardize his security wherever. So if those guys even fired or not come back from the bushes, then those papers should be held responsible. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, and to you viewers, thanks so very much for being part of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast as well as Talking Points. See you tomorrow. Have a nice evening.